Hello, hi everybody. Welcome to it. Welcome to it. Hey, this is the first official episode of Dinonoane with your one and only favorite host, of course, Goddess T, Goddess me. And I am super excited. I'm super excited because this is actually not even the first episode that I'm recording. Like, if I'm being legit, like, if we can just start it off with a quick rant, just allow me to rant quickly. This is like the fourth time that I'm actually recording this. And at this point, I'm Summer Walker, okay? Like, pull up my ID and that's what it will say to you. I'm Summer Walker because I am over it. I am officially over it. The first time I recorded the episode, it went well. But the next day, while I was editing, my phone was complaining about storage. So I went through it, tried to delete some stuff, and I accidentally Shilong. I accidentally deleted the full episode that I had recorded. Messed up, but fine. Sharp. We move. I record it again, and literally the second time that I recorded, like, it was longer, it was better in my opinion. So I was like, perfection, it's all good. The energies are aligned. Okay. Did my mic not switch off 6 minutes into it?
That shit is so disrespectful. So disrespectful.
And I recorded like a whole 46-minute long video, like, and that's another heads up for you. I talk, okay? We are here. I'm a chit chatter. So my episodes are not going to be short or none of that. So I recorded the second one, my mic died, and over 40 minutes of it was actually silent. So I obviously couldn't use that. And the third time that I got to recording it, I was interrupted and I couldn't finish it. So, fourth time is a charm, apparently. This is the fourth time of me attempting to record this episode. So, as I said, I'm over it. Right now, it's raining outside. Hopefully, that is not too much of a distraction for you guys. Mara, as I made it clear, I'm over it. I just want this to be done so we can get the channel going, because like, I've been planning this for so long, and it's the summer solstice. It's the 21st of December. Over here. I am in the northern hemisphere. North and south always get me confused. But anyway, for those of us in the northern hemisphere, this is the official summer solstice. So I was like, let me harness that energy, let me use that to capitalize and hopefully get this this episode going. It's raining outside. A part of me thought about not recording, but I was like, F it. Okay, hopefully that won't get me red flagged. But yeah, honestly speaking, I don't even want to lie. That's where I'm at. I want this to just happen. I want this episode to just happen at this point. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. It's truly appreciated. Like, this is like no small feat. So the first lesson of the podcast, if anything, let it be perseverance, guys. Things are not always going to be easy. They will not always be ideal, and 9 times out of 10 they may not happen when you would like for them to happen. But nonetheless, if you are able to make it happen, Bona Wanaboy, so you have done your job. So that's where I'm at. Grab your glass of tea, of wine, of juice, of whatever. Take a quick sip and let's get into it. I'm super excited to cover this episode. So let's do it. I've got my glass of wine. Honestly speaking, guys, like, me recording the same thing for Love You 4, I deserve a glass of wine. So feel free to grab yours, join me, and let's get into it. So for the first episode, I decided to give you guys Dinonoane. Now, for those of you who are petty, you might know what Dinonoane or Dinonoane are. Essentially, they are folklores or folk tales, right? and they're quite common in African culture. You might have grown up with some of your elders sharing, stories with you in childhood. That's generally how it goes. We are a very oral orientated people, so a lot of our history is encompassed in stories and such. So that is how the first episode came to me. It came in the form of a story, and I'm going to be relaying it to you guys in that way. um do not mind me if I happen to look down and seem to be reading. It's quite long, and I wanted to encompass as much of the details that were coming to my mind as possible. So if you see me glancing down or reading or any of that, I have my trusted notebook over here, and yeah, that's just me trying to make sure that all the information that I want to be encompassed is is actually here. So without further ado, let's get into Nonwane Yaka, which I have titled Bana ba Mama, which means Mama's children. In the beginning, before time learned to keep itself, there was her, Mama. She had beautiful, dark, glowing skin and soulful eyes, as well as a heart that was truly meant for the people. This rain is low-key getting harder, but it's okay. And from Mama sprang forth four beautiful daughters. And the oldest of these daughters was named Zanzi. Now, Zanzi, in many ways, was a younger version of Mama. She was born with the weight of history in her bones and the echo of the ancestors in her every breath. So she, in many ways, encompassed that ethereal energy that flowed through Mama. And upon her chest, right above her heart, was placed a golden amulet. And now this, she was told, was placed there because she was given the sacred duty of being the keeper of memories for her people. Always remember who we are, Mama had told her. Guard our stories, our names, our lands. And all of these she loved, especially the lands. She tended to the land, worked with the earth, spoke to the stones, and danced with the rain. She was a nature girl, if there had ever been one. And she used her natural energy of abundance to imbue it into the earth. And through this, she was able to yield bountiful harvest, not only for the royal court where she lived with her mother, but also for the surrounding village. So everybody who was around them benefited from this. And she was given the royal duty of overseeing the harvest for all the neighboring villages. And secondly, we have the other daughter, and she went by the name of Hodu. Now, Hodu was magnetism, if that word ever was to be personified. She, it said, came out of Mama crying her sacred song. And from that day on, her energy just pulled in all those who were in her presence. I mean, wherever she went, people just couldn't help but stay. They couldn't help but turn their heads without even understanding why. And when she spoke, she effortlessly bent their will to her pleasure without even trying. Now, for these characteristics, Mama made her the head of the royal councils. And this meant that whenever there was any type of negotiation, any type of deal that needed to be made within the people of the village, Hodu was there. For she was able to use her poetic words to be able to make them see her point of view or each other's point of views. She was able to very easily dissolve disputes wherever they may have come up. And she used her voice for good. Where you go, others will follow, Mama had told her. You will be seen, even when unseen. And behind her came Fue. She was fire personified. Mollo utuga. She was passionate, vibrant, and any other word within that realm. She exuded that energy from herself. And Mama called her my little phoenix. For you see, Fue was never scared of the fires that came with life. In fact, she walked straight into those fires, into the heat, with a blazing smile, a sense of knowing about her, a knowing that she was going to come out on the other side, brighter, bigger, and better, rising from the ashes like the very phoenix that she was called to be. Your fire, Mama told her, will warm all those who witness it. Transmute everything life throws your way into your fuel. And last but most certainly not least, we have the youngest of the sisters, the smallest in size, but perhaps the biggest in spirit. And she went by the name of Kali. Now, Kali, from a small age, had the spirit of a soldier, of a fighter. And so she was determined to become a royal guard and to essentially protect her people. And that's what she did. Strike when tyranny rises, Mama had said to her, for your rebellion is divine justice. So all of these four sisters lived their lives in an equilibrium, each of them possessing her own part of this world that she ruled and that she oversaw, guiding the people, creating a healthy ecosystem, and this dynamic way they learned from Mama. From Mama, they got all the lessons about their history as a people, about how to read the stars in order to understand what was happening down here in the earths, how to become an organic part of your environment, understanding that you are one part of it and not standing above any other part of the ecosystem, whether it may be a bug or a tree. So for years, many years, they lived in this equilibrium, each of them contributing as they should have and maintaining this harmony. And on every spring there was a beautiful festival that was held by the villagers, and this festival was in honor of the great year that they had gone through. For we know that spring marks the ending of one year, and by the end of spring we enter into summer, which is the beginning of a whole new cycle in nature. So they would have this festival, which informally became known as Hodu's festival. And this was because Hodu held the favorite space in the village's heart. She was adored and she was loved, and soon you will get to know why. So, this festival first began with offerings coming from the villagers. So each of them would put together all their harvest that they've put together of their corn, of their yams, of whatever vegetables and fruits they deem to be the best, and also livestock as well. So they would take all of these and walk with them up the mountains to the royal court, where the four sisters as well as Mama had their royal huts. So once they were there, they would present these offerings to Mama, and they are beautifully woven, intricately woven baskets. They would place them in front of her hut, and from the hut would step out the first daughter, Zanzi, and she would open the festival with a prayer of gratitude. This prayer would be going out to the Great Spirit, the creator of all, a manner of gratitude for the successful year of life that they had had, and a plea for the same energy to be extended into the new year of life. So she would open the festival with this great, magnificent prayer, and when she was done, came the people's favorite part. It would start off with a silent clapping, slow in the background, couldn't really get a grasp of it, but soon it would grow. and you would be able to feel the rhythm, and would keep adding and adding. Then would come the hum, and it would come from inside Mama's royal court. And in there, you would hear Hodu begin to sing with her marvelous voice. And this would already bring up that energy within the villagers. They would feel the hair on their skin stand up, the energy inside them begging to be riled up. And she would hum slowly and slowly, and soon the drums would join in her rhythm. And then she would reach the climax and she would ululate. I don't want to shout. I don't want to shout and make noise here, but ululate. It's basically it's a very beautiful and native sound. So she would let out a roar of ululation, and she would jump from the shadows of the mouth of Mama's hut. And from there, she would come out dressed in her best traditional regalia of shiny, colorful beads and feathers that cascaded all the way down her back, as well as adorning her wrist and her ankles. And she would go in a rhythm, humming and humming and humming until finally she let out that first note that called the villagers in to the song. And just like that, they would join in, and this beautiful harmony would rise. This beautiful harmony would go up from the core of their hearts without them even being able to understand it. And she would dance for them. They would join in, and the energy would keep climbing and climbing until it was time for the second climax. And this would come when Fue, the third born, would join into the festivities. Now, when Fue joined in, something special happened. For you understand, the girl that feared not any fire actually possessed powers that controlled fire. And through these, she was able to use this power to actually purify the energetic field of not only the royal court, but those of the surrounding villages. But on this special night, what her power did is it raised the vibration of that big fire that was set in the middle of the field. And so what you would see is the flames start to gain a life of their own. They would climb up into the sky, cascading and turning and toiling like a live dragon until they reached up so high into the sky that they dared to defy the power of the sun itself. It would be so bright throughout the village that it literally looked like daylight in the middle of the night. Its light would shine down all the way throughout the village to the royal huts, which usually would be filled with the peaceful sound of snoring, but on this night they were empty, Baba. And to the markets, which also during daytime had that magnetic, fiery energy to it, but were sitting still now. And they went even all the way down to the forest, where in the beginning of those trees gathered together, four figures could be seen together. They were huddled, looking over their shoulder and whispering, almost as if to keep this glow and warmth away and out of their conversation. The first voice spoke up in a defiant complaint. It said, "Why must they get all the credit for all of this work? That is not fair." The second voice joined in and it said, "That's true. We tend to these lands as well. We take care of the of the animals and all the farms here. But when it comes time for this festival, they're the only ones on it. Why don't we get credit for that?" A third voice joined in and said, "You know what? And these women, they won't even let us marry them to show how selfish they are with their powers. Why won't they allow us to do that?" Then finally, a fourth voice came and it said, "Something must be done." And just like that, the tide began to change. For you see, all the way on the other side of the world, across the great white belly of the ocean, another meeting was happening, a more sinister one in nature, if you can believe that. For this meeting was between a faceless, a harsh, and empty, devouring entity and the great sea serpent that dwelled at the bottom of the ocean. This faceless entity came into its realm and said, "You know what? I've heard stories about you. I've heard about how powerful you once were, about how you once built and devoured kingdoms. But look at you now. Nobody even speaks your name. Nobody remembers you. In fact, I hear rumors of a land across you where people are so powerful and so free that they don't even know what to do with themselves. They might even think themselves to be gods, greater than you, greater than I. But you see, I come to you with a proposal. If you were to let me ride across your great big belly, if you were to guide me to these lands that I've heard so much about, I will bring you back millions of their souls. You will eat and feast upon them, and never again shall you go hungry." So, on that fateful day, on that fateful night, a decision was made. And as I said, the tide began to change. But back home in the village, life more or less seemed to go on. And ordinarily, the people lived their lives, the sisters fulfilled their duties, and Mama guided over everything. But Fue couldn't help but feel a change in the atmosphere. For when she went to do her fire cleansing around the energetic field of the villages, she caught on to something, a change, a shift, but one that nonetheless, no matter how much she tried to focus on, she could not spot. So she did what any of the sisters did whenever they were baffled or troubled. She took her problem to Mama. Upon explaining all of this, Mama stood silent with a stern expression on her face, unlike her usual warm self. So Fue asked, "Do you know what is wrong, Mama? Can you tell what is happening?" "No," Mama answered truthfully, rather. "I do not know what is happening, but there is a great danger in the air. I can feel it coming with the winds." Then came Kali, the feistiest of them all. She asked, "Mama, what danger can threaten us? We are your daughters after all. What are you talking about?" But Mama maintained her stern expression. "Not all dangers come with a threat in your face. Some of them present themselves with an open hand before you and a clenched fist behind their backs." And with this, the four sisters went silent. Then it came, the day of arrival, the night that would change everything. The sisters ended the night like every other night in actuality. They fulfilled their duties, then met together for their dinner with Mama. Afterwards, they each separated and went to their own huts. But on this particular night, Zanzi was awoken by this screaming, this shaking that seemed to come from inside of her skull. "Bafitlile, babatseya." The words kept reverberating over and over and over again. Even when she opened her eyes, looked around her hut, and tried to understand what was happening, her senses were flooded by this cry from the earth itself. "Bafitlile, babatseya." She tried to understand what was happening, but failed. So with this, she ran out of her sacred hut, looking for her sisters, shouting for them, calling out their names one after the other, but still there was no answer. She did not hear any of them respond. She did not see any of them. But what she did see was a fireball, glowing and mighty in its disastrous power, flying across the sky until it landed somewhere down there in the village with a loud, thunderous thud that made the earth cry out again. Bafitlile, babatsia. And with this, she got up. She didn't know what was wrong. She didn't know what was happening, but she certainly knew that a danger had arrived to her and her people. So with this, she ran out and she ran towards the village, down the mountain. She ran over stones that bled into her feet. She ran even as her chest and her lungs pained inside of her, and her mind just felt devastated at the vast possibilities of what could possibly be happening to her people and to her sisters. But even through all of this anguish, she ran. She ran all the way down the mountains and reached the threshold that would lead her into the farms of the villages, and after that into the actual village itself. So once she got there, she continued running, but the pain in her chest intensified to the point where she could not breathe, and she clutched onto it. She begged, please, I have to find my sisters. Please, I need to find them. But right before her, her senses blurred. The world turned upside down. And before she knew what was happening, she found herself all the way at the top of the mountain, all over again, facing her sacred hut, and with the village still burning with screams of devastation right down below her. She clung to her chest and begged, please, I have to find them. I need to help them. And with that, she turned around, trying to run back where she had just went to, until a familiar voice stopped her in her tracks. Ngwanaka, listen to me. The voice came from inside her sacred heart, and with that she ran back, more determined than ever, but with endless tears running down her face. Mama, Mama, you need to help me. My sisters, I can't find them. The village, it's being destroyed. Mama, we need to help them. But again it repeated, Ngwanaka, listen to me. But she looked around, her eyes darting around frantically, looking for the mother that she could hear but could not see. Mama, where are you? Mama, where are you? We need to find them, she kept telling them. And now the voice repeated for a last and final time, more sternly this time, as though grabbing her by her shoulders and shaking her. Ngwanaka, listen to me. You need to listen to me. The taker has arrived. It's here to take your sisters. And as bravely as they are fighting, it's not destined for them to win. For you see, it comes with death magic, a magic so dark, full of greed and hatred, that your sisters will not be able to overcome it. It has been attuned to their weaknesses. I'm sorry, Ranaka, but we have been betrayed. And with this, Zanzi fell to her knees, devastated, feeling nothing but pain in her entire existence. Mama, no, we need to find them, not my sisters, she refused. We need to find them. Let it take me, she offered herself. Let it take me instead. But the voice repeated, more gently this time, almost as if pitying her. My child, Ngwanaka, keeper of memories. You know that the royal amulet can never leave the lands of our people. You can never go with them. That is not your path. And with that, Zanzi clung to her amulet, the pain going through her body more tragic than she thought she could endure. No, no, she refused. I have to save them. I can save them. But the voice repeated, no, you can't. And with that, she fell into a puddle, crying screaming, convulsing on the floor of her hut, devastated by the loss that she was now being told to endure. She was in this state until she felt a familiar but invisible touch upon her chest, upon her amulet. Mama's hand, she could feel it on her, and with that, it activated a vision that took her across the great belly of the ocean. There she saw her people chained in wooden coffins. She saw them be led towards foreign lands, lands that spoke in numbers and not stories, lands that built their kingdoms on fear and not boldness. She saw her people completely stripped naked, stripped of their names, their identity, their history. She saw tough and painful times indeed for her people. The pain and sorrow was almost too much for her to bear, but still she would be asked to endure more. For within that moment, she felt in her heart the very, very specific pain coming from the hearts of her very own sisters. Her vision took her firstly to Hodu. She saw her younger sister in these lands, one day to be called the Americas, chained but not defeated. In the silent, claustrophobic, crushing lands, she saw her sister begin to hum to herself, much like she used to do from childhood, from birth, right here at home. She heard Hodu start to build the strength in her voice. She heard that voice eventually be joined by clapping of hands. And with that, Hodu gained the strength to finally release her voice. And from her voice came a captivating, a pregnant shout, a call, a sound which sounded foreign even to Zanzi's ears, a sound which she had never known, a sound which would forever change the plains of this earth. One day, she saw, this would come to be known as jazz, as the blues, as hip hop from the lands of the Americas. She saw her sister Hodu go and talk to these plans of this foreign lands. She saw her be able to bring out the magnifying energy, the healing energy of these foreign lands. And from this magic, she saw her sister give it a name, named after her. And this was to one day be known as Hoodoo. Look further, Mama's voice commanded. And with that, she was taken further south into these lands known as the Americas. And she saw her sister, Fue, once proud, gleaming, shining. Now she stood silent, with her hands clasped together, a small flame, which once shone with the pristine and pride of the sun itself. Today it stood as a small and sacred, defiant flame. And with this flame, she went forward and she taught. She taught the people how to keep the fire and the memory of home alive. She taught them the power of transmutation. She taught them how to breathe life into foreign texts and to call on the old gods behind new names. She taught them how to stand as saints in the daylight and as priestesses and goddesses in the night. And this magic, she saw, would one day grow and create its own spark from this flame, to be known as Santeria, as Palo, as Candomblé, as Umbanda, and so much more. Then finally, her vision took her to the islands that would one day be known as the Caribbeans. There she saw her youngest sister, small in her stature, but refusing to yield. She saw her standing with her hands clasped together in a sincere and powerful prayer. She saw the soul of her younger sister leave her body and go up to the realm of the gods. There she stood in front of them and relayed all the details of what her people had gone through. She told them everything that the taker had so gruesomely taken away from them, how they had been ripped away from their lands, taken across foreign seas, and forced to now be laborers in lands unknown to them, lands unbefitting for them. She told the gods of how their sacred temples, once beloved and cared for, now stood empty, hollow, devastated by the impact of the taker. And with this, the gods had had enough. They put upon her head the sacred symbol of the holder of the wrath of the gods. In her right hand, they put the bow of resistance, and in her left hand, they put the arrow of vengeance. Take these, they told her. Go forth and unleash a revolution unlike any they have ever seen. And this, Zanziso, was the spirit that would be shot forth to one day in this world be recognized as the uprising of the Maroons in Jamaica, as the uprising and the defiance of the slaves on the plot, and the independence of the Haitian Republic, the first republic of black people to be known, independent republic of black people to be known upon this earth. The spirit, she was told, to shoot forth without fear and with the full guidance and full wrath of the gods. And from this, Zanziso, her sister, would create and honor a magic that would one day be known as Obeah and voodoo. Then she was brought back to her present body by Mama's voice. You must stay and prepare the home, for they will return, whether by body or by spirit. You must remind them who we are. I love you, but I go now to be with them in spirit as I am here with you. Remember your duties, Manak. And with that, Mama disappeared. And that is the end of Nonaniak. Okay, I know it might have been, a little bit here and there, but that is the energy that came to me, the message that came to me when I was putting together the very first episode for this. And mythology is a great tool that has, for as long as time has existed, been used by our people, by our ancestors, to relay messages that are rich with metaphors, with meaning, with symbolism for the paths that we walk in life. And I believe that this is one that is quite representative of the journey that we have come from, the journey that we have walked as a people. And we need to all now, at this very integral time, because one thing to understand is the great call is happening. Regardless of when you tune into it, it is happening and it has been happening. So it's very important for us to understand this journey that may have led us towards different parts of the world, that may have ignited different qualities within us, but nonetheless calls towards the same fact. We are children of the same home. We are children of the same mother. And throughout history, there has never been a time where we as Africans, whether on the continent or throughout the diaspora, have had the type of connection that we have right now. This is a time where we need to be able to understand with each other and to heed this call without falling victim to traps of the spirit of offense, because that is one thing that I can definitely say I have seen come up one too many times. It more often than not comes up within our interactions, where these stereotypical type of energies come up in our conversations between, say, somebody from like South Africa and somebody in the Caribbean or somebody in Atlanta. We get caught up in all these stereotypical mentalities of, oh, African Americans don't have any culture. Oh, Africans are all jealous of us living in America, and all this other dumb BS that we do not get to actually answering and heeding the call that is coming to all of us. Because whether you are the child that was taken away from home, or you are the child that was commanded to stay at home and prepare it for those who are returning, we are all on different parts of the same story. We may be on different pages, we may have had different experiences, but overall they echo the same message. It is the time for the great return, and we all need to hold each other's hands in that. Yes, there will be some growing pains in it, but we most definitely, especially now going into 2026, we definitely need to get past this energy of offense, because we come from the same home. You are not better for the fact that you were one of those that remained on the continent, and you now have your home language, your home culture, your native space, and all of that. You are not better than the people who are overseas for that. And if you are overseas, you are definitely not better than those on the continent for the fact that you have closer proximity to the powers that be, which have controlled for too long the narratives of how our journey has went. So it's time to put all of that to rest, because the point is, regardless of where your journey has taken you, Mama is calling all her children now, and it is your part, it is your duty, your role, your sacred role, such as these sisters each had in this mythology. It is now your sacred role, regardless of where you are, in the Caribbean, somewhere in the Americas, somewhere on East, West, South, North Africa. It is now your time to answer and to fulfill your sacred duty, because again, we all come from the same home. So, with that said, I am going to go into the closing part of this. And so let me actually show you guys the tarot deck. I personally love this one. It is the African Goddess Rising Oracle, and it is one of my favorites. I cannot lie. I mean, Goddess Devoho, talking about primordial goddess energies, like, come on, it fits in too perfectly for me not to mention it. So here I have a card that I pulled. I did it off the camera just to save time and all of that, and the energy that came out, I hope you guys can see it there, is Medusa. Ugh, the ring light is doing its thing, so I don't know how well you guys can see it. I don't think it's that great, but anyway, this is the card of Medusa, and over there it says rage, or more accurately, righteous rage. And this is the same energy that Kali called on within the council of the gods to be able to dare to bring about this change amongst her people. Because for sure, you are not going to start and win a revolution with a smile. That is just not going to happen. This is a time where we as a people, we as Africans, whether you are on this continent, whether you are throughout the diaspora, whether wa itse gore he ke bolela so or ke reng, or whether you just understand plain old English, as long as you are an African descendant, as long as you are one of mama's children, it is a time for you to rise up and acknowledge this righteous rage and channel it correctly so that this movement can bring us all home. That is the divine energy that has been gifted to all of us right now, because you can use the anger to destroy and to burn the things around you, right? Or you can channel it, you can have it be fuel behind you to get you to where you want to be. You can use it as a connecting energy between you and those who share the same home and descend. Is descendancy a word? I don't think it is, but today it is. For those of us who all share the same common descendancy, that's not a word though. Okay, sharp. For all of us who come from Africa, this is a time for us to heed the core. And it is not all going to be sugar and spice. It will entail some growing pains. It will entail some introspective moments, some unlearning on all of our parts. But nonetheless, we are being called to channel this divinely gifted energy of righteous rage towards dismantling the systems that have for too long held us captive, and then to creating the new systems that will ensure that we are able to rebuild this home for all of us. Okay? So, yes, this is the card that I pulled. There's a lot going on there. I just don't want to make this video too long. I would go into, like breaking down the imagery and everything, but essentially Medusa, you can look into her story to get more context into why she would be exemplified as the goddess of righteous rage. But it's a message and an energy that very much relates to us as Africans, and it's a time for us, wherever you are, to channel that energy. And I mean, as I'm recording this, it's the summer solstice down here in the northern hemisphere. So I am calling in all the good vibes so that 2026 will actually be a year that is unifying for us. But you need to consciously be a part of this. You cannot be somebody who is perpetuating all of these outdated negative stereotypes about us as Black peoples, about African Americans, about people from the Caribbean and all of that, if you actually want to see yourself in a place of progress. And one thing I will tell you, without fear, without doubt, the future is us. The future is African. You need to understand that. But in order for you to have your proper place at the table, you need to play your role. So that is my message for today. On the next episode, I am super excited to get into a more historical and factual account of how our spiritualities actually evolved to become what they are today. Because as I said, we have Obeah and Voodoo in the Caribbean, we have Santeria, we have Condamble, we have Palo in South America, and all of these, and Hoodoo in America, and on the continent. I mean, it's so vast, from Busangoma to, listen, there's so many so many branches that spirituality has taken. But this was just my way of relaying it to you in a way that makes you understand that it all comes from the same source. Okay, so next time, I almost said next week, but I don't know when the actual second episode will be, so I don't want to say next week. But on the next episode, we'll be going more into a historical timeline of everything, so that we can all understand that when we talk about African spirituality, when we talk about how it has branched out in all these different parts of the world, or what we now know as African spirituality on the continent, how it actually became to be those things, and how, of course, things like religion played a role in all of that, because we can't deny that, that they had their impact on us. So yes, but otherwise, other than that, I am super happy that I was able to put this together for you guys. Fourth time is a charm. Fourth time is a charm. So if there's anything that you're going to take from this first episode, is perseverance, man. It may not happen the first time or the second or the third, maybe not even the fourth, but keep at that shit for as long as you know that that's what you're supposed to be doing. Keep at it. So with all of that said, thank you so much for joining me on the first official episode of Te Arona. I am so looking forward to getting into these topics and just exploring us. So next time, look out for your girl. Don't be scared. Down there in the comment section, talk to me. Let me know what you think, what you want to hear, any tips that you have. I mean, I'm not a storyteller. I mean, I'm an artist, but I draw, I sketch. That is my realm. The storytelling part is still quite new to me. So any tips that any of y'all narrators and storytellers have for me, I'm very much open to that. But I'm happy. I'm happy that this happened, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on the next episode of Te Arona, the story of who we are as Africans, who we have been, and who we are becoming. So I will most definitely see you guys then. Bye.